seriously scarred me. I tried telling my parents and others about being choked out by a demon and hearing a choir in the woods, but I guess they just assumed I was a delusional middle schooler. For the next couple of years I still felt its presence, especially at night. It'd try and tell me to do things, and I never felt safe. Once I was out shooting in a ravine I frequented behind my house there, and suddenly my .22 started turning around the wrong direction. Scared the fuck out of me, pulled my mag out and ran home. My dad eventually ended up leaving that camp to manage another, and by chance I ended up going to the church that possessed kid from the backpacking trip frequented, one Wednesday night. I had almost completely forgotten he even existed, it had been years. He greeted me by name, in the creepiest manner possible. Weird shit, that's when I realized he might have had some part in sicking it on me. Anyways, it followed me until around my sophomore year of high school, and I almost gave in to its temptations many times. Miracle I'm still breathing today. Final part of this story is how it left me. Was hiking up to a meadow above the camp we then ran in CO, praying fervently because I could still feel it behind me. I came upon this circular clearing with nothing but some fallen aspen in the center and lion scat. Then it left. I physically felt its presence leave me, like taking off my pack even though I still had my pack on. I looked around the circle and it was empty, and I didn't feel like it was hiding anywhere nearby. That's it. True story, and it changed who I am. I am very happy that experience didn't scare me out of the woods, as that's one of the few things left in life I still enjoy. Oh yeah, that trip went down in NM and I know people who have had similar /X/tier experiences while /out/ in that area. Fucking terrifying. That demonic shit is real lads, don't fuck with it. Coming back from cabin party in HS. Swing by town's only available food, the Lord McDonald himself. Good post-moonshine meal. The other two people in the vehicle are sober, and I'm not driving. Riding shotgun. Take back roads back to town. Brights were needed. Roughly 2 a.m. I'm sober at this point, let me be clear. Come around corner, see young girl on the side of the road. My glare started at her feet. Barefoot. WTF is this bitch doing? .jpg. Ghostly pale legs, notice large blue veins. Gray short shorts with tank top, and hair. Then it hit me. Immense dread, primordial fear. I can't describe in words how frightening her face looked. Eyes so black it literally sucked the light from the brights on the truck. Her jaw is missing, just as black as her eyes. Feel like this thing is gonna snatch me out the truck as we go by. At this point, my buddy looks at me. He's seen it too, I thought I wasn't sober or something. Anon, WTF was that? Lock the door and drive. Proceed to go 90 miles per hour the rest of the way into town. Guy in the back was on his phone, didn't see a thing. He freaked out seeing our reactions. Me and my buddy go slightly crazy for the next month or so. Reality shattered. There's shit out there, and some LARPing redditors from r/science can't convince me otherwise. My cousin had one come up to the door a week before she died. Old Australian Aboriginal folklore stuff like mince lights. Be me. Young lad living in far SW Queensland in the bush. Mum, brother and mate driving home on Friday night after visiting the town we go shopping in every few weeks. Town is 114 kilometers away from the little town I live in, roughly 60 people in my hometown. Around 9 p.m. it's dark, stars are out. Suddenly on horizon dozens of lights. They come towards us then back away multiple times. Mum keeps driving, says to ignore it. Bright light above car now following above us for what seems like ages. Lights finally leave. I've got a few more UFO type stories, I'll post as well. Story 2. Dating gothic headcase chick who loves horror stories and ghost shit. Claims that her and housemate were out randomly driving through all these back roads late at night, both insomniacs. Come across old bridge. Both have urge to stop and get out of car. Park car in middle of bridge. Both get out looking over edge. Both suddenly get a weird urge to jump off bridge. Look at each other as a weird feeling fills the air. Jump in car and speed off. As they do, GF looks in rear view mirror and sees girl in all white, soaking wet, standing in middle of bridge. They knock the fuck out. I'm really skeptical of stuff like this. One night we're all driving around being idiots as usual. I used to work graveyard shift until 1 AM and afterwards we'd drive about for a bit until I felt tired. We're out driving on country roads. I'm in the back chilling with her and housemate are up front. Start to come around this corner, start getting weird chills and can feel goosebumps, and hair standing on end. Ask everyone else if they are cold. Weird because it's middle of summer in Australia. Keep driving, feeling of dread starts to fill me. Just can't shake this uneasy feeling. We come around corner and there is the bridge. I'm like, why did you bring me to this place? They say, we wanted to see if you feel anything or see anything. You don't believe in this stuff, so we wanted to see. I tell them let's just keep driving. Girlfriend says she feels sick. Starts to tremble and starts spewing out car window. We pull over, she throws up a bit and asks us to keep driving. Suddenly her housemate sort of moves weird in his car seat and starts to drive super fast. We ask him to slow down multiple times until the point where we are yelling at him. I sort of hit him inside of face and he shakes his head, and looks around and goes, I need to pull over. I say, get out of the fucking driver's seat, WTF are you doing? He complies, sort of slowly lumbers out of car and gets into back seat. I drive us long way home. Never went back to bridge. Hear similar stories from other locals and hoons that go out to the skid pan near there. Final story didn't happen to me but an old friend of my great-grandpa. Dude was a drover back in the settler days, was out droving cattle and sheep from one large outback station to another. 2-week travel on horseback. Now this is back in the day before Aboriginals were put on missions, reserves, and were still migratory people. Dude's riding along and some sheep get spooked, and take off through the scrub. He starts off after them full pace on his horse. He's riding through the trees, hits a tree hard with his arm, and goes off his horse. He wakes up surrounded by Aboriginals. Obvious language barrier, etc. Arm is in pain. Looks at it, clearly broken, swollen up and filled with infected blood. He's sort of in and out of consciousness and has no concept of time. Remembers at one point an old Aboriginal elder chanting and stroking his arm, and then the infected blood running out from under his fingernails. Next thing he remembers, is getting woken up by one of the other drovers he was with. His arm is in a ghetto splint made of bark sticks and some sort of fiber twine. He'd been left horseless at a watering hole that drovers and Aboriginal tribes visit. They told him he has been missing for 1 week. After he rode off and never came back, they searched for him for a day or so and then continued on as they assumed him dead. Not really folklore, but went on a longish hike. 7 to 8 hours, not overnight but still a time killer. Check weather the night before. 50-60 Fahrenheit, cloudy with 60% chance of rain. Storm on the radar to the west, on track to miss and head south by a fair distance. I dress for the conditions, people know where I'm gonna be and my phone gets service for most of the trek. I make good time but 3 hours and the rain starts. It picks up, I turn around, I pick up my pace, about 2 hours back, dark, it starts pouring. Suddenly the rain slows to a mist and it gets silent. I'm about an hour from my car and I can't hear shit. I stop and all I can hear is a dull roar. I can barely make it out. I keep going, reach my car and jump in. Turn the car on and I hear an emergency broadcast on the radio. The storm swung north and there's a tornado warning, confirmed to have touched down outside a town 20 miles to my west. My face win. I think I've written this before at /x/ but it was jumbled together, and looked too difficult to read, so I'll green text it and try not to look like a retard while I do it. Be in Chicago. Go to a magnet school, schools for additional funding for special programs. They treat us pretty well and take us on field trips a lot. One time they had taken us out onto a hiking trip in North Utica. We had chaperones and like 5 teachers came with us. Idea was to camp there for 2 days and return back once the bus came to pick us up. First night there, and I'm laying in my tent, and I start to hear like a whooping noise in the air, but at first it sounded very high-pitched. 12 minutes pass and the whooping doesn't stop. By now it's turned into more of a screeching but at a really low pitch. I'm pretty nervous at this point, but I don't think it's anything probably that hostile or big that can kill me. Illinois only really has coyotes, deer, and to be rumored we have mountain lions the more north you go to Wisconsin. I wait for an hour and then unzip my tent. By this point it's 4 a.m. and the light is starting to come up. I slowly unzipped my tent and look upwards and see a big fucking bird sitting on top of a tall tree maybe a yard away from us. It doesn't see me and it keeps like stomping around before it pulls out its wings. My fucking eyes are deceiving me. Imagine 4 Yao Mings across a giant bird's body. This is how big this thing's wingspan was. It flies away gracefully into the woods and I can't see it by this point because of the larger trees. I tell my buddies and they laugh at it saying it was probably a really big eagle or some shit. Teachers looked at me like I was fucking nuts the rest of the bus ride home. Forgot to add. I asked one of my high school teachers about it. He said it could have been a thunderbird, shit that the Native Americans in Illinois used to sight all the time. Let me set the scene. My grandma's property set about 2 miles down the road from her house way out in the country. That's where you enter the first gate by the road, to start up the extremely narrow dirt road up the mountain. It kind of winds up the side of the mountain until you get to the top, about a 15-minute drive. At the top it's all fenced in. It's a big area with a field at the very bottom. It's on top of a mountain